Hello, friends, or should I say, hola, amigos. It's Wanda from Wine with Wanda, and today I am so excited. I have two wine luminaries, icons, rock stars from the Spanish wine world. So to my left is winemaker Pedro Aibar from Tresmano.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for being here.
You know that it's always a pleasure to be here with you.
El placer es mío.
Okay.
And to the right, I'm meeting for the first time José Luis Paniagua, 2025 Best Sommelier in Spain, according to the Michelin Guide. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
That's very nice to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, bienvenidos.
Thank you.
And we are in New York City, in the heart of New York City, in Chelsea at Community Wine and Spirits, which is one of my favorite wine shops. So I always encourage people to come here. So I first met you about 2 years ago,
Think
two
so?
or three.
Yeah.
And we tasted these wines, and I
Yeah.
was blown away. And let's talk a little bit about Ribera del Duero, just to start, because I feel when we talk about Spanish wines, there are two wine regions people know. They know Rioja,
Yeah.
and then they know Cava, but they don't really know a Cava. You know, those are the two wines that people know.
Mhm.
So where exactly is Ribera del Duero?
Ribera del Duero is in the heart of the old Spain, which used to be called the Kingdom of Castilla.
Ah, okay.
Mhm.
And it's basically to situate people more or less 2 hours northwest of the capital, Madrid.
Okay, so very easy to visit.
Exactly, it's very handy from the capital. It's a wine region that basically has four provinces from Castilla y León, which are Valladolid, Burgos, Segovia, and Soria. In all those provinces, we have the wine region Ribera del Duero.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now, Tresmano is a relatively new project. So when did it start?
Well, new is 11 years old
Okay,
project.
okay.
Uh,
Almost a preteen.
you know that how tough are the first 100 years.
Yes. For sure, for
Then
sure.
it's well, just coming back a little bit about Ribera del Duero,
Mhm.
because if geographically it's important to know that it's North Madrid. Something that I feel is also how important is to transmit how is the region in terms of the climate,
Mhm.
because in fact we are in the heart of the Spanish Peninsula, but perhaps not many people know that just in the central part of Spain is a very big plateau
Okay.
in elevation above 1,000 meter elevation, which
Close to
means it's
3,000
quite
feet, yeah.
high. It's the second highest elevation in a DO in Europe,
Oh, I didn't realize
which
that.
means in average, which
Mhm.
means perhaps you can find isolated vineyards that are also higher, but in average is the second higher elevation above sea level, and also the climate is very extreme. Comparing with Rioja, for instance,
Okay.
that is closer to the north coast of Spain,
Mhm.
is very extreme, which means you can be the same day you can be below zero and rise the temperature to 25 during the harvest time, which means it's something that is very extreme and also very dry because how far we are from any coast.
Okay. And I've heard the winters
The
can be
winters.
quite brutal
There,
there. Very
well, in
cold.
fact, there are nice expression thinking about how is the climate in
Yeah.
Ribera del Duero. You can feel you are 3 months in the oven and
Okay.
6 months, 9 months in the fridge.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, it's like this. I mean, it's there are not a big spring period and a big fall period as well.
Mhm.
But the climate is quite extreme. That is nice. If you think about how the grapes or how Tempranillo match with this specific climate, well, you speak
Yeah,
Spanish
yes.
perfectly. Tempranillo means early.
Yes, it's the early
Yeah,
ripening, yes.
yeah. And
But Tempranillo, Ribera has a different name, right?
it's Tinta del Pais
Tinta del Pais.
or Tinto Fino.
Or
That
Tinto.
is-
But it's not just a different name, it has a different quality. So when we're talking about Tempranillo, Tinto del Pais, what are the differences, characteristics of the grape, how it expresses itself?
we enjoy to talk about Tinta del Pais or Tinto Fino when we think about the period when the people graft themselves their vines
Mhm.
using the good material that you can find originally from the region, which means all the vineyard that has been planted before the 90s
Mm-hmm.
or 80s, that because at the end of the day, it was during the period of the 90s when all these nurseries, uh, vines plant nurseries, start to plant to use the typical clones material, which
Mm-hmm.
means it's at this part of the history that you can see that most of the Tempranillo you can find wherever you are, even in Australia and also in
Okay.
California, from
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you can find also Tempranillo.
Mm-hmm.
All those plantation has been made using more or less the same material,
Okay.
which means you can see all those new plantations with Tempranillo that all the leaves are quite similar, or the grapes are quite similar. But if you think about all those very old plantations, when people just graft their own vines using this local material, is something that you feel is a little bit different because they are not so pure material.
Yeah.
It's like mestizas, it's something that, and it's also right now, it's very nice because we are in fall, and it's the moment that most of the leaves became red
Must be
and
beautiful.
yellow and still green. And when you are in front of very nice and very old Tinta del Pais plantation, sorry, you can see that most of the vines has different colors.
Okay, because they are not
Yeah,
cookie cutter.
yeah,
They have unique.
yeah. And this is, and I think that this is the real expression of the Tinta del Pais, when you feel that this material is using only wood that is coming originally from the region.
Mm-hmm.
Not,
So you're 11 years old, the winery, but you have the oldest vineyards
yeah,
in Ribera del Duero. So
yeah,
that's really interesting.
it is, and also because, well, we started just to talk about a little bit the climate. Uh, this climate is so healthy that most of the vineyards are also organic, could
Oh,
be
wonderful.
naturally organic, uh, because such a very low humidity, such a very high temperature are not the best for mushrooms or for any disease,
Exactly.
And it's because of the reason that most of the vines, such a very old vines, you can work in a very traditional way and became most of the time organic, and it's also nice, always with such a very old plantation.
Okay. So as a sommelier, we talk so much about old vines. So when you meet someone like Pedro who tells you, okay, these are made from vines, some of them 80 years old, 100 years old, what does that, how do you respond to that? What does that do in your brain? Or what do you expect to see in the wine when you hear old vines?
Well, first of all, you expect to see more complexity. You expect to see wines that come from bunches that mature very well. Perhaps the quantity, when you harvest is not too big.
Okay.
You don't produce too much quantity, but the quality is amazing. Sometimes I compare aged wines with aged people. You cannot expect from them to be very energetic, but if you ask them for maybe an advice or something, they give you the right advice. They give you, because they have the expertise of life,
The experience.
Yes. Of life. So that is to me the difference between young and aged vintages. When they are young, of course, they are gonna give you a lot of production. It's gonna be good quality, of course, but aged wines makes really the difference in the complexity of the wines. The deepness. They tell you more things about the area, about the soil, about what's been happening that particular year. They are more the expression of what that happens in that particular part of the world.
I love that. It's like when you visit a small town anywhere in the world and you have your elders in a community who kind of maybe have been in the same spot. Every community has the old woman that kind of watches over things and knows all the stories. So kind of the old vines absorb all of that. So in our glass, I know we have 2019 Tresmano, right?
Yeah, it is.
So
Right.
let's do a toast to you being here. So cheers. Cheers.
Happy to be here.
And cheers to all of you.
Salud.
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 Salud. Cheers.
So you as the winemaker, why don't you tell us a little bit about the process of making this, and then we'll come to you to talk about maybe your impression, what you'd like to pair it with, and all of that good stuff.
Well, first of all, we were pleased with 60 years old vines for
Wow.
making Tresmano. In average, perhaps we are using some of the oldest vineyards in the region, which means it's something that made this wine quite unusual, if you want. Then, as José Luis mentioned before, when you are working with such a very old vines, the size of the bunches are so small, and also the berries are very, very small, which means the color is part of naturally you get a lot of color from such a very old vines, such a very mature grapes. Then everything that we try to do is just to be very conservative in terms of how to not to improve the fruit. It's just to be sure that we will be able to keep all the fruit to the end of the process, and be sure that something that a good winemaker needs to do is just to be very precise, just to keep the freshness, just to keep the quality of the fruit when you are working with such a very exceptional fruit. Because if the fruit is not good enough, is the moment that you need to to mask a little bit everything. But when the fruit is just there, the only thing that you need to do is just to be sure that you will be very serious, very precise, just keeping the freshness, keeping this fruit to the end, which means we ferment naturally, which means we are using the local yeast as well.
Indigenous yeast.
Indigenous yeast. The winery is certified. It's under organic certification, which means we are just very, very natural. The winery it's quite clever. I mean, we use the gravity just to step by step. Just is the reception is it's more or less at the top part of the winery. Then is the fermentation. Then is the aging area that is underground, and again trying to reduce the power consumption in the winery is part of the philosophy as well. Then we keep the wine in the barrels till we feel the wine is ready. I mean, I hate just to mention if the wine is 12, 15, because it's the natural question. For how long
how long can you
keep the wine?
Yes.
The time you need, the wine must be there.
Yeah.
You need just to taste the wine, just to feel the wine is ready, and then just putting the wine in the bottle. Is a totally natural bottling process, which means we are not using any artificial process to make the wine stable enough. It's just to use a natural child morning in the area, and that's enough. I mean, and then is the wine. The wine must speak for itself.
Yeah. I mean, what I get is that beautiful freshness that you mentioned, even though it's rich, it's not heavy, it's not jammy, but I know you can describe this much more eloquently than I can. So I would love to hear you describe the wine.
Well, you've done it very well already. And so let's go ahead.
Yes.
What really loves about this wine is, it's a classic academic Ribera del Duero wine, but also it's got freshness. No, I think this is the way that Ribera del Duero wine should go in the future. Not to achieve too much extraction, too much power, because at the end of the day, you mentioned before, it's not too cold for New York now. If you think about every single year, we buy less and less winter clothes.
That is true.
So at the same time, the food that we eat when the weather is not too cold is a food that doesn't need heavy full body wines. So this is fantastic for enjoying a red wine most of the time of the year. The wine, to me, it's got a very deep nose. I think it's a wine which is ready to be drunk now. And it's got black fruit, I find black currant, and then in the mouth, I think it is very elegant, it is fresh. I have a sip, straight away I want to have another sip. The
Exactly.
wine doesn't get me tired, which is good, which is very enjoyable.
Mhm.
And also, this is the perfect match in the area for baby lamb.
Ah,
Those,
Cordero.
yeah,
I
cordero.
love it.
Lechal,
Yeah.
Cordero Lechal.
Oh, okay.
They call it lechal,
Oh,
which is the
okay.
baby
The baby
one,
one.
which
Okay.
is very soft. It's almost like butter. And
Okay.
this wine goes perfectly well. But at the same time, I think red wines are always a good chance for chocolate puddings,
Ah, interesting.
desserts which there is. I normally, not normally, but at the beginning when I start in the wine business, I follow a rule that someone quite important gave me: match the dessert with the color of the wine. Or if the
Ah,
dessert is dark, you can have something dark.
I've never heard that rule
You can
before.
have
Okay.
maybe
Never is
port,
too late.
Yeah, always
maybe
something new.
port, maybe Pedro Jimenez,
Okay.
but also red wine.
Of
Red wine
course.
is also fantastic. So sometimes you don't need to think about to have a little bit of sweet wine. If the bottle of wine hasn't been finished, you can enjoy the nice red wine if you order something with chocolate.
I love that suggestion. That's perfect. That's
Mhm.
perfect. And
So it can go very well also because at the end, when I taste it, I find coffee, I
mhm,
find chocolate, I find things that also goes very well, no? And also with food, and I could drink this easily with white meat, something like
definitely.
chicken, something like pork, something like turkey. Not a long time it's gonna come, and Thanksgiving.
Yes,
I,
Thanksgiving is 2.5 weeks away. This would be a perfect wine for
exactly,
Thanksgiving.
with
Yeah,
the mm,
the turkey
the
and the
turkey,
stuffing, and yeah,
exactly
yeah.
that sort, no?
It's that good acidity as well that will keep your mouth
Yeah.
very fresh with all those
Exactly.
heavy foods. So this is the one that you make the most of, right?
Yeah,
This is kind of
yes.
the introduction to Tresmano, but
Yeah.
still, you're not a huge corporate winery. It's still a
Yeah.
very boutique
Yeah, it
project.
is a very big winery. Yeah.
So I see we have a second bottle on the table. So this is the TM 2019. So
Yeah.
tell us about this one.
Yeah.
We're not going to taste that one, but I'm curious to know about it.
Well, first of all, you know perfectly that Tresmano is because at the beginning we were free challengers.
Yes.
Because you know that Tresmano is free,
Mm-hmm.
Mano is hand.
Yeah.
We try to transmit that we were free challengers behind this label. Uh, Another time, TM is Tresmano again, but
Okay.
is a Tresmano elevated to the M potential. You know, it was
Okay.
how to transmit to our clients, our customer, that this is Tresmano again, but
Mhm.
is the best Tresmano we are able to elaborate to make every single vintage. Not every single, because sometimes when we are not sure about if the vintage is good enough, we just skip this specific vintage. We need to be sure with TM that this wine, at the end of the day, our aim is just to make a very good wine from using the grapes coming from the oldest vineyard we
Okay.
own.
So how old are those
Is
vineyards?
102 years
102.
old. It was
Wow.
102 in 2019,
Okay.
which means
Okay.
right now it's 100
108.
yeah, an 8, which means is not a baby,
No,
not a
no.
baby. Uh, from 3.5 hectares, we just bottle 2,000 bottles, not per hectare, in total.
In total.
In a vintage, which means that is our aim is just to be sure that we're able to make such exceptional wine, and this label is normally included in the top list of the Spanish wines every vintage, every year, and is part of the, it's our dream just to be sure that this wine is going to be included in the top Spanish wine of the year, and is well, it's like our dream. It's something that I really, really appreciate.
So I imagine you've tried this tea
Yes,
before.
I
What are
have.
your thoughts on it?
Yeah, this is wonderful wine. I think this is the maximum expression of Ribera del Duero terroir. For first of all, for the age of the wines, the place where the wines are growing. Some of the best vineyards in the area, and is it gives you all what you can expect from a very top Ribera del Duero. Freshness, but fruit intensity, balance between acidity, structure. Is a very top wine. Is the sort of wine that you could expect for a very, very special occasion.
Yes. Like today.
And I think, and I think in that way, this is the sort of wines that I think we sometimes the people, the clients should think also about for a special occasion.
Yes.
It's a top wine and coming from Spain, from an outstanding wine region, and I seriously think this wine can compete with many other great wines from some other wine regions.
I love that. And I think that's so important because, Spain, I think it's taken a while for people, I think, to recognize the quality and the excellence of the wines. And I think Ribera del Duero, people have one idea of what that meant. So you're talking old vines, you're talking altitude, you're talking very specific plots and vineyards. So even though it's one grape, you're kind of really creating this tapestry within the bottle.
It's quite important to know that Ribera del Duero is doing 25,000 hectares, but there are 120 kilometers from east to west, which means there are big distances. You can find vineyards planted at around 800 meters to 1,100 meters, which means there are big distances, differences in terms of the elevation, which means at the end of the day there are different soils as well, and it's quite enjoyable just to taste all the wines coming from the different valleys, and it's part of our job just to be sure that we look for the balance, because also something I hope that you also agree with, that something that Ribera del Duero is doing. Most of such a very exceptional wines, the tannins are very soft. I think that these special soft tannins are very appreciated by the American consumers because you love very much such a very powerful but also very soft.
That softness.
And I think that Ribera del Duero is perhaps the place or the area from Spain from where you can get such a very soft wines, soft tannins, drinkable and very nice.
Yes, drinkable, elegant, very authentic, very real. So I know the wines are available in the United States. They're available in Spain. What other countries? Because this will be online, so we may have viewers from other places. Where else can people find your wines?
Well, fortunately today you can find Tresmano, obviously, in some of the best Spanish restaurants. Well, today we are with José Luis from Atrio, that is
3 Michelin stars. Yes.
Which means you can find Tresmano in such a very exceptional restaurants. If you are visiting Spain, I recommend deeply you need to stop by Atrio your next time in Spain. But also, if we think about export, obviously we are in the States, then we are in Mexico as well, we are in Switzerland, we are in most of the North European countries. That at the end of the day is where the people really enjoy and appreciate the high quality for Spanish wines.
Of course.
And this is our challenge, is just to be sure that we are able to identify, to look for the places from where the people really enjoy, really appreciate the quality of the Spanish wine.
So let's talk a little bit about your very famous restaurant, Atrio. So for those who maybe don't know it, tell us a bit about it.
Well, Atrio is basically a life project from two friends. They opened Atrio in 1986. So next year we are going to be 40 years old.
Wow.
It's one of the top restaurants in Spain, more consolidated with a huge background. And since 2022, we achieved the 3rd Michelin star.
Amazing.
And I think became a destination for many people. We are not in the most famous Spanish touristic area. Normally when people go to Spain, they think first to visit Barcelona, Madrid, Ibiza maybe.
Yeah.
But sometimes, especially people who are very much interested in food and wine, they look for something else, and they come to see us. We are located basically in between Madrid and Lisbon,
Okay.
1 hour only from the Portuguese border, and we get many customers from the Spanish capital and also from the Portuguese capital.
And they come for the food and the experience, but also for your wine list, which has how many in your cellar?
Yeah, we have something like 40,000 bottles in total. References 4,500 wines to choose,
Amazing.
which is not too bad. We are, of course, very strong in Spain, and we almost reach every single wine region in Spain. So it's a good chance to try wines from every single part of the country, which is sometimes is not available even
That's true. Can
in
be tricky.
biggest cities. And that is something that surprises sometimes many people.
Yeah.
If I want to drink a bottle of wine from a tiny particular wine region, I have to come here because in a bigger city I don't find it.
Interesting. Must be a wonderful feeling to have Tresmano on the list. It's such an
It's-
esteemed
Well,
establishment.
we are so proud to be there that well, it's one of my favorite restaurants. I try to be there at least once in a year,
Okay.
just to see all the different dishes. It's a very nice experience, and we are so proud, thanks to José Luis, to have Tresmano included in their party menu, which means it's something that is very important for us. And you need to stop there.
I know I need to visit. I miss Spain. As you know, I
Yeah.
studied there for 2 years y me encanta España, vive en mi alma y siempre la echo de menos.
Okay.
So it's so wonderful to be here with both of you. So my advice to everyone, I'm going to give you 3 tips. First of all, look for these wines. I've had them several times. They're elegant, they're beautiful, they're so authentic. That type of wine that if you're a newbie, they're very approachable. If you're a more seasoned drinker, you'll get all the nuances and complexity, but really such a beautiful wine. So that's the first thing, try the wine. 2, book a trip to Spain,
Yeah.
but go off the beaten path. So you're going to go to Ribera del Duero and visit Tresmano,
Yeah.
and then you're going to take a little road trip towards Extremadura and have dinner at Atrio and visit José Luis, right? I think that's
Perfect.
good advice.
That should be the perfect plan.
Perfect trip. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, and cheers again.
Cheers, yeah, thanks.
Cheers,
Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Salud. Again.
Salud, and thanks to all of you. Cheers.
Cheers.